everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hangtime. Lexi, you're so far away, my girl, but you're here again for another episode, and we're really excited. Everything's heating up. We've had some really good games this week, including that West Bloomfield and Detroit Edison game. Hey, West Bloomfield hasn't moved from your number one spot. Are they kind of running the table here in Michigan?
Yeah, West Bloomfield, I put them at the number one spot for a reason. I expected at the beginning of this season, with India and Summer Davis being seniors, losing in the state finals last year, that this year would be their year to not just make it back to the Breslin, but win a state championship. And I absolutely expected West Bloomfield to win the Edison game. Even I was surprised at how much West Bloomfield beat Edison by, though. 61-42, a near 20-point win to give West Bloomfield their biggest game and win of the season. India and Summer Davis, along with Hendricks, did a really nice job playing team basketball. They shared the ball. They pushed in transition. They are so strong down low. Even as some of them having that guard combo to their position, they can pull down offensive boards. They went up for second chance points. They're just showing a different type of strength and emotional maturity than any other team in the state is showing.
And how do you think they just came off of a loss out of an out-of-state team? How do you think that that's going to affect them moving forward? That loss was on February 3rd, so they did bounce back. But what do you think that means for this team?
West Bloomfield isn't the type of team that's going to take a loss and have their confidence just completely ruined by it. Of course, that loss hurt, but it was by Anthony Wayne High School in Ohio, a team that's ranked number 5 in the state of Ohio. So it's not like they lost to a team that's a chump type of team. This is a really good team. They, I'm sure, learned a lot of lessons from this loss. And that's the type of mentality that West Bloomfield is going to take from this loss. We can learn from this just to make us better for our tournament run against these in-state teams instead of letting it hurt their confidence.
Hey, and check this out. I mean, they're making incredible plays. Summer Davis with 2 3-point buzzer beater shots. It's incredible.
Oof. I mean, ice in her veins. Literally, Liz, ice in her veins. This is the type of clutch mentality that I'm talking about, that the Davis twins have, that West Bloomfield as a team has. And these are the plays that the people want to see. So remember, anyone who's listening, watching, if you have a play that we might have missed, a big buzzer beater, a big game from someone that we're not talking about, send it over to us. We'll make sure to put it right here on the show.
All right, checking in with Big Lexi's Big Ten. A lot of the teams in the top 10 stayed the same, but we did see some movement between the Rockford and Edison. Both of those teams, they switched spots. What went into that move?
With Detroit Edison getting the back-to-back losses, I had to move them down a spot, but it was great to see them bounce back against my number 3 ranked Detroit Renaissance. To get a win like that, Liz, these rankings are going to end up being switched up again next week. I have a feeling Edison's going to be moving right back up.
And speaking of some switches in your top 10, Goodrich got kicked out of the top 10 and Grand Haven moved up to that 10 spot. You know, what did that mean for Grand Haven to be able to take over and get into Big Lexi's Big Ten?
Well, Grand Haven, they did lose to Rockford, which had initially kicked them out of my Big Ten, but they've improved since the first time that they played Rockford. And the first time, they lost by 17, but on 2-6 against Rockford, Grand Haven only lost by 9 points. So Grand Haven's doing some things that are getting better each and every game, even though they're not closing out on that rematch game against Rockford. They're doing the right thing. They're battle-tested. They're playing a lot of big teams. So I had to move Grand Haven back into the 10th spot because Goodrich, on the same hand, even though they're undefeated still right now, 16-0, they haven't played a single team in Big Lexi's Big 25. They're just not battle-tested enough, and I don't think that they have what it takes to play against the Big 10 and win.
And looking down at Big Lexi's Big 25, some new schools hit the list. Why?
We had to add some new schools in. I felt like I had to kick some schools out. They've gotten too many losses down the stretch, and I couldn't keep them in, especially when they're not losing to ranked teams. However, some teams that I added was Frankenmuth at number 13. They're 12-2. They had a really close loss to Goodrich. Almost gave Goodrich their first loss of the season. And their only big loss on the season is to Rockford, which of course we can't knock them for that. Rockford has been a powerhouse all season long. And then I added at number 16, Orchard Lake St. Mary's. They're 16-0, undefeated. However, they're not the most battle-tested team. They're kind of similar to Goodrich, where they haven't faced enough competition. They've had some close wins over Troy, Regina, and Marion, which are good teams, good wins. So I decided to put them in there. The last team that I decided to add was Negaunee at number 21. They actually used to be featured on Big Lexi's Big 25, but after they lost to Ishpeming, I kicked them out. Didn't feel like that was the right decision because Ishpeming has been sitting in my Big 25 ever since that win against Negaunee at number 15. So I threw Negaunee back in there at number 21.
And this week, I was able to sit down with East Kentwood's Harmonie Belton. East Kentwood sitting at that number 7 spot. They've been having an amazing season so far.
Yeah, you guys will definitely want to hear what a real baller like Harmonie Belton today. She's been doing it in game, out, every single game this season. She can score on all 3 levels, and she gave Liz a lot of tea that you won't want to miss.
I'm Elizabeth Coon here with Harmonie Belton from East Kentwood. Thanks so much for taking the time to hop on today.
Yep.
All right, well, East Kentwood has had quite the season so far. You guys are coming off of a close loss to a really good Holland West Ottawa team, but you guys have really been on fire. We've been talking about you all season long. What really makes this group special this year?
It's really just our defense. Like, our coach give us a scout report, and we just gotta obey it. And keeping our energy is really key, because that's what bring the intensity to the game.
Yeah, and you guys have been able to knock down some really good teams. That Rockford team, a lot of teams this season. So what does that really say about East Kentwood basketball?
I would say really determined. We know what we want for ourselves, so we have to put in the work to actually get what we want, and we have to actually focus when it's time to focus. We just listen to what our coaches tell us and do what we got to do.
Yeah, and how much fun has it been being out on the court with your friends, your teammates? You know, what is really special about the team chemistry, the dynamic of this group?
Our team chemistry is real good. Every week, if we have a home game, we have a team dinner the night before we play. So we building the team chemistry and just respecting each other and being positive.
Yeah, and you've really been able to go out, get it done every single week. What does that say about your leadership ability to be able to lead this team to some really big wins?
I think that's a huge part, being able to keep my team in check, bringing each other in and keeping each other accountable of what our roles is.
Mm-hmm. And what are you guys looking forward to most? I mean, this is kind of the grinding point in the season. What are you looking forward to?
Really playoffs. We really want to make it to states, so we're going to hold ourselves accountable into making it.
Yeah, and how do you guys lock in at this point in the season? We might be getting a little tired, but, how do you lock in and stay focused on that goal?
We be real quiet, and we on bus rides, we all have our music in. Sometimes we play around, but when we hit the court, we know when to hit that switch and when to lock in with each other.
Yeah, and what would you say moving forward to the season are some things that you guys need to improve on as you head into this playoff run?
The main thing is knocking shots down and keeping our staying out of our heads and moving forward, just keeping each other accountable of what our roles is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you got a big game tonight, so I'll let you go. Good luck. We're rooting for you, and thanks so much for taking some time.
Thank you.
All right, heading down the stretch, we've got some great matchups. Lexi, we want to hear your predictions again this week. Holland West Ottawa will be taking on Grand Haven tonight. What do we think of that one?
I'm going with Grand Haven, especially because I just put Grand Haven back in my Big Ten. They better show up and show out for me. right here. West Ottawa is a really good team, though. This is a rematch game, and West Ottawa has been on a tear. They've won a couple of the rematch games that they lost that first time. So this is going to be a close, exciting game, but I'm going with Grand Haven.
And this will be an exciting rematch again. Ishpeming and Negaunee, they're going to be playing tonight. What are you thinking for this one?
This is a tough one. Especially because they're smaller schools. They're D4 schools, so especially in schools that are smaller like that, it can really be anyone's game on any given day. But I'm going with Ishpeming. They've been undefeated this year. They did have that close game against Negaunee. They pulled it off the first time, but I'm thinking that they learned a lot from that win. Everyone says you learn more from a loss, but I think they had a lot to learn from that win, and they're going to make the adjustments to make this win against Negaunee a second time an even bigger win.
And Arbor Prep, they've got their hands full coming up. They're going to be taking on Edison, and then right after that, Detroit Country Day. What are you thinking for that Edison matchup?
This Arbor Prep Edison game is going to be a really close, exciting game. This is probably the game that I'm most nervous about giving my prediction and just about watching. It's going to be a highly anticipated game. I am going to give this game to Arbor Prep, actually, though, just because Edison has been losing some games, and especially after the Renaissance game, I just feel like Edison's confidence is going to be down, and they're going to have a hard time down low against the Utomi twins in the paint.
Yeah, and what do you think about that Arbor Prep Detroit Country Day game?
For the Arbor Prep Detroit Country Day, I think that's going to throw a wrench in some things as well, because I'm actually going to give this to Detroit Country Day.
Ooh.
Detroit Country Day has been so battle-tested, and they have lost a good chunk of games. They've lost 5 games, but every single game that they've lost have been to ranked teams, and most of them not just in the Big 25, but in the Big 10 that they've lost to. And they've been close games. Every single game that they've lost but one has been right there. It could have gone either way. And I think this is going to be the game that Detroit Country Day, down the stretch as we move toward March, starts to figure it out and gets a big win.
Hey, these games are so important. So we're excited to see if those predictions are right. Make sure you guys tune in next week for another episode of Hangtime.
State Champs Hangtime is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Be curious, make magic. Hangtime is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, proud partner of the MHSAA, and the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation Athlete of the Year Award. Applications now being accepted until March 31st, 2024 for the male and female athletes of the year. Download the application today at dacathleteoftheyear.com. You cannot be nominated if you do not apply.